Asia, you're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie.
And let's take a look at some of the things that are making today's front pages. Oh, this is different.
It is. It's an alpaca taking a liking to the king. There's a picture on the front of the Times this morning showing the monarch enjoying himself at an agricultural show in Brecon. Nice. I like an alpaca.
Do you know people walk alpacas?
I've done it.
Have you?
Yeah. It's lovely.
Oh, and is it relaxing? I've heard it is.
It's really, really nice, yeah, to go and take an alpaca for a walk. It's weirdly lovely.
Oh, I might do that then. You persuaded me. And the front page of the Mail, let's take a look at that. It depicts a group of pranksters forming a human chain around Just Stop Oil activists trying to slow traffic in South London yesterday. I think things got a bit heated between those two groups.
Pranksters or sensible citizens. Perhaps, I don't know, depends on your side of it. The Guardian has an image of Ireland fans in despair as they watch their teams lose to Australia on the opening day of the Women's World Cup.
Oh, there they are.
Oh, there they are.
In their green. And The Sun says Josie of the Jungle, as it's revealed that ITV has won the bidding war to get daytime star Josie Gibson on I'm a Celebrity instead of BBC's Strictly.
Is it a bidding war? I've never heard of the woman. I've got to be honest, I've never heard of her.
Yes, you have.
Haven't?
Yes,
don't recognise her.
This morning.
And is that a bidding war to get her on ITV, gets ITV star on ITV show?
Yeah.
I mean,
They'll be happy with that.
How's that difficult?
I'd rather do Strictly than I'm a Celeb, I'll be honest. Wouldn't you?
Anyway, let's look at the Star. It draws attention to councils allegedly misusing their powers by fining people for feeding ducks and flying kites. World's gone mad.
Are they quackers, says the headline there. Well, we're joined now by writer and journalist Candice Holdsworth alongside broadcaster and podcast host Sean McDonald. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Really good to see you. Sean, let's start with you, shall we? And this is a story that's been dominating the papers for the last few days. It is this debanking scandal of Nigel Farage, and he's got his apology.
Yeah, Dame Alison Rose, the chief exec of NatWest, has apologised to him. Now, Coutts is a subsidiary of NatWest, I believe 39% of which is owned by the taxpayer.
Yes.
And they've come out and said they apologise for the deeply inappropriate dossier comments in which it was leaked to a BBC reporter that Simon Jack, I think his name is, that the reason for the closure of Nigel Farage's account was that he failed to meet the required threshold for the amount of cash in the account. I think that was quickly proven to not be the case, and it was debunked. And I think now Nigel Farage is demanding answers. Nigel Farage is not someone that I agree with in the slightest. In fact, I could not be more diametrically opposed to him if I tried on pretty much everything. But I think pretty much across the board here and across the political spectrum, we're in agreement that you cannot be divulging people's personal banking information. In fact, Nigel Farage himself said that he accepts that he lives a very public life and all of his information is out in the public, but he would expect that his bank manager, his doctor, his lawyer and his accountant can hold his personal information securely.
We all expect that, don't we?
Exactly. So I think even with the apology, he's pushing for an explanation why has this happened. And again, some of the people coming out to bat for him, I think if you're opposed to Nigel Farage, you're going to see like Donald Trump's sons coming out to support him and various other people that you're going to be opposed to. And when I hear these people speak, I'll be honest, it gets my back up. However, again, you have to put that to the side and you have to recognise you cannot be denying people access to banking facilities. Now, there is the argument that this is a very commercial bank, you know, they bank for the Queen and that they don't have to take everyone's business, but it's the manner in which it's been done is quite worrying.
If banks control who can have an account based on their political opinion, that gives banks political control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which cannot be right.
And you know, banks don't have to be taking people's business. That does happen. What they do alert people and say, listen, we're no longer going to offer you banking facilities. That is something that happens, but I think it is the manner and the way. There was a statement, or there was like a dossier again, which you know was leaked, which called him racist, xenophobic, misogynistic. Whether those are your opinions, you can't. A bank cannot conduct themselves in this way, and you're right. It puts us on a slippery slope.
Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to be a pluralistic society, and this is a huge blow for that. And I think Nigel Farage, I mean, what he was able to uncover with that subject access request, and to actually see the reasoning behind his banking account being removed, it's so true. Like, people across the political spectrum have come together and said, this is sinister.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot have this sort of power. It's been going on for a while, though, financial deplatforming, but it's mostly happened to people who have a much lower profile and much fewer resources at their disposal to challenge it.
And that's why, in a sense, it's been a very good thing for Nigel to speak so publicly about this, because there will be people who have been debanked and deplatformed who aren't able to do anything about it. It's very interesting, though, the timing of all of this, because Nigel's never made any secret of his political views. Very, very strange that this would only happen now.
Yes, well, the Telegraph is reporting it's this Dame Alison Jones, is it? Sorry. Rose, sorry. She has sort of taken the bank in a certain political direction, you know, prioritising so-called diversity and inclusion, although she's not being very inclusive, getting rid of people she doesn't agree with.
I feel that she would argue the paradox of, was it intolerance? You don't tolerate intolerance as per her beliefs. I'm not making any sort of assumptions or assertions about Nigel Farage, but it's a slippery slope, and it's one that we should push against, I would say.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to come out on this. I don't think that apology was enough of an apology.
No, and so he's now got the right to request. You have the legal right to request the information which a corporation or entity holds on you within 30 days. And I think within this now 30-day block, it's probably going to be a lot more embarrassment for Nat West and Coots.
Yeah, and he's actually asked them to be questioned by MPs on the issue now.
Needs to be.
So I think this will run and run. Candice, let's go to you, shall we? And the front page of the Times about tax breaks for office checkups.
So this is a really interesting story on the front page of the Times. Apparently, the government is looking at offering companies tax breaks to offer occupational health checkups for employees, because there's this big problem now of a huge number of people on out-of-work benefits, sickness, and a lot of it's to do with mental health amongst younger people. So they're saying if companies could focus on more community focus, more preventative medicine, they will incentivize them to do so through the various tax schemes, because this is becoming such a burden on the state now, the amount of people who are off work sick. And I think there is some thinking that rather than waiting until people are really chronically ill and they can't work, let's start looking after them further down the line before they get sick. So there's this new thinking now, instead of just like responding on an emergency basis, let's do a lot more preventative care. I think that this is just a crazy development, though. I mean, what is going on? Why are people so ill? Is it to do with the waiting lists? Is it to do with the fact that people can't access good mental health care amongst the young? Because it is very expensive to pay. Say you get depression or anxiety, which happens to a lot of people. If you don't have private health insurance, it's very expensive to pay out of pocket, and you won't get it on the NHS unless you are severely ill.
And I know this sounds really harsh, and don't get me wrong, I do believe there are people who are off sick because they are ill. I do believe there are people who have mental health issues and all the rest of it. I do. I just think there are too many people saying, I've got to, I'm just not feeling it, therefore I'm depressed.
Oh, there's some of that going on. I mean, I don't know if you saw the article in the Times a few weeks ago about the life coaches the Department of Work and Pensions have been hiring to get people back into work. And some of it is just, for instance, like they're not chronically ill, but they're just struggling to fill out a job application and things like that. And they've had to bring life coaches in to get them to do it.
Sure.
For adults, for grown adults. Seriously, it was very shocking.
I'm slightly suspicious of it. I think it's a little bit... Where's the let's get on with it spirit?
Yeah, I mean, this is us. We're trying to summarise this multifaceted, complex, deep-rooted, socio-political, chaotic mess that we're kind of in. It's very difficult. I think that sometimes I find myself stating different opinions. On one hand, I'm like, oh, come on, man, a wee bit of resilience, and that probably is needed. I would just like to see people dig deep. And other times, I'm very sympathetic. I think it's a difficult times we live in, the world is a confusing place. There is a cost of living crisis, which I think is becoming a bit of it's being so overused.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think you're right. But I tell you what I always fall back on, and it's the way you're brought up in some respects, isn't it? I was always told, and it's what my dad always lived by, the world does not owe you a living.
Yeah.
So even if you are feeling you're really down with it, unless you are crippled by it, you've got to get on. Because
I have to, honestly, I agree with you. And sometimes it can be seen as being really callous and unsympathetic, but the world doesn't owe you a favour, the world doesn't owe you anything, and yeah, the world is not fair. That's one thing that is for definite, and sometimes you have to just push through.
And it's good for you as well. I mean, in that article in the Times about the life coaches, the one girl, I mean, she was like 25 and she'd never had a job, but she actually said, I can go on holiday now, I can pay for a car. It's like, yes, there's freedom, there's independence.
Purpose, a reason to be getting up in the morning.
Yes.
Well, perhaps we enable these people as well.
I think so.
Giving life coaches when people can't fill out a form, rather than saying, here's a pen on your pop.
A bit of resilience, a bit of pressure can be good for you. But that's, it's not to downplay some people that are going to.
No, well, this is it. It's not black and white.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day,
Exactly.
but I think we do need to be a little bit more resilient. Let's have a look, Sean, at the Mirror, should we? Prince Andrew's in a bit more hot water.
Yes, the Mirror are basically saying that this is the second most damning accusation since the one that he was. I want to get my words carefully. We know the one that we're talking about. But basically, it's been alleged, according to court papers in America, that Prince Andrew claimed that after he learned of Jeffrey Epstein's conviction for soliciting an underage prostitute, that he only met him once, and that was to break off his friendship. As you do, I always fly across the Atlantic when someone's accused of that type of thing, to break it off in person. But it's now, according to emails that have been uncovered, they actually met, I think, another once or twice, and they sat together at dinner. So,
which it doesn't paint a good picture.
No, it absolutely doesn't.
We've got to leave it there. Sorry to say, Sean, Candice, thank you. We'll catch you both a little bit later on.